Let's say you're teaching a mindfulness class and one of your class participants has a really difficult experience. They experience a difficult emotion, they seem overwhelmed. How do you deal with that? Is that a normal thing to happen? And how do you cope with that? How do you help them to manage that experience? This is episode 29, and we're exploring managing difficult experiences in mindful classes. This is a Teach Mindfulness podcast, and my name is Shamash. So, first of all, when we're doing mindfulness, when people are slowing down, they're turning inwards, they're doing these meditations, it's very natural for all sorts of different emotions and sensations to come up because you're slowing down, you're turning inwards. So that's bound to happen. So you could almost think of that as a good thing. Someone's starting to release certain emotions that are within them. We live very busy lives, as you know, nowadays. And so it's quite easy for us to not notice emotions that we have coming up. We haven't really processed them. Or sometimes even from further in the past, we've kind of suppressed certain emotions and we didn't feel safe enough, or our body didn't feel safe enough to feel them. And now they're kind of bubbling up to the surface. I like to think of it like a fizzy drink, and maybe you've been shaking it for a bit and you haven't opened up the top, and so you're starting to open up the top to release those bubbles that are under pressure in this drink, and they're starting to come out. So don't think of it as you've done something wrong or bad if someone is not feeling good or pleasant in a mindfulness class. Remember, the aim of mindfulness is not relaxation, or it's not about feeling good all the time. It's about cultivating awareness, wisdom, compassion. Yes, things like gratitude as well, but it's about making space, and maybe even more about, if we look at the key principles of ACT that give us a really good, powerful clue to where we're going with mindfulness, it's about allowing and making space for the inner experiences, the thoughts and emotions. It's about learning the skill of getting unhooked from our thoughts, to see the thoughts for what they are, to become more of an observing self version of ourselves, to be able to see things from different perspectives and to be able to be flexibly present. So, what do we do if someone's going through a challenge and you want to help support them within a group? Well, one really nice little activity that I recommend is an exercise called the 3-minute breathing space. And if you've done a training in mindfulness, hopefully you know what that is. It's a short mindful exercise. Essentially, you're helping them to connect to the here and now, the present moment, and getting them to gather their awareness. And so you can say something like, "Thank you so much for sharing," if this person has shared with you how it was. And then you can say, "Would it be okay if we practiced a short 3-minute breathing space exercise, or a short 3-minute meditation?" And almost always they say yes, and the others say yes, and it helps them to gather their attention and make a bit more sense about the experience that they're going through. And you can obviously create some space for them to share how things are going for them. You can, if they're willing to, you could maybe explore a little bit about, what are the thoughts that are arising or feelings that are arising. But even more important than that is, I think, the sense of being grounded. You may want to invite them to feel the sensations of their feet on the floor, of their body on the chair, but they're not doing it on their own. Hopefully you're in a group together. And that's the idea that I have in my mind anyway. You're practicing in a group. And so everyone in the group is doing that same practice. If you're particularly concerned about them and you feel that they seem a bit overwhelmed, then do have a chat with them afterwards, see how they're doing. And if you feel that it's beyond the scope of what you can manage in terms of the emotions and the experiences they're going through, maybe you've tapped into some past trauma that you think they need more help with, then you can refer them on to someone and tell them that you're not specialized in this area, but they may really benefit from extra support. And so maybe you could refer them to a therapist or a psychologist or something like that, a health professional. Having said this, don't be frightened of emotions as a mindfulness teacher. Remember, we're learning to help our students and ourselves to make space for emotions. And if you think about something like panic and overwhelmed with anxiety, it's to do with the fear of the emotion itself. Like you feel anxious, and then you feel anxious about feeling anxious, then you feel anxious about feeling anxious about feeling anxious, and it gets into this cycle, and then it starts getting stronger and stronger. So what we're learning to teach our students and ourselves along the way is to make space for our feelings, the low moods, the anxious feelings, the feelings of guilt and stuff, allowing our inner space to notice them, explore them, and allow them to be there. What we're not doing in mindfulness is continuing what some people call the feel good agenda, this constant need to try and feel good all the time, and to think that if we're not feeling good, that there's something wrong with us. What we're learning to do is not trying to feel good, but we're trying to get good at feeling. We're trying to notice that more. So, on that note, I'll finish the episode there. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Teach Mindfulness podcast. If you are a mindfulness teacher, you want to join a community, then get in touch with me, because we're just starting that in a few days' time. And if you have any comments or feedback or reviews, they're always much appreciated if you have a few moments. Next episode, we're going to be talking about everyday mindfulness.